I'm a pretty big fan of the older Need for Speed games. Hell, I'm a fan of arcade-style racing games in general. Something about racing around chunks of metal at breakneck speeds where one bad crash could potentially kill someone? Yeah, I can't do this in real life without real repercussions, but at least in video games I can still get that same thrill. Enter Need for Speed: The Run, a racing game with a somewhat unique premise due to the developers trying to put a serious story into a simple point-to-point style game. In The Run, you play as Jack Warwick, a man who used to do jobs with an unknown mob. Things go south, and Jack starts the game in a precarious position, duct taped to a steering wheel in a fancy car that's about to get crushed. We never find out why Jack is being hunted down, but you just need to know that he escapes via some QuickTime events that you're forced to play right from the start. After he gets away, he meets an old friend, Sam Harper, who offers to get him away from the mob once and for all by giving them a little bribe. In order to front this money, Jack has to join the Run, a dangerous competition in which 300 racers drive from San Francisco to New York City, with the winner netting a cool $25 million. Sam offers to front the $250,000 entry fee and says that if Jack wins, not only will she pay off the mob, but she'll also give Jack 10%. Jack picks one of about 5 vehicles and sets out on the 3,000-mile trek across the country. The racing itself consists exclusively of point-to-point races. There are absolutely no circuit tracks, but the game tries to put a few spins on the point-to-point style system to make things seem a bit different. Being that Jack is trying to win a race against 300 other racers, well, 299, you'll be given objectives in each race. However, these modifiers are all just ways to describe prior existing race types. For example, in one race, the game will tell you to pass a certain amount of opponents, which is just saying win first in the leg. You'll have Sam tell you to make up time, which is a time trial. Finally, you'll be told to defeat opponents, like an elimination battle. I can appreciate the attempt to make things seem different than prior racing games, but let's face it, the objectives are just there to make the Run seem even more video game-like. Which is fine because I really like the idea of the Run. Racing across America is a fantastic idea and reminds me of old school arcade racers like Cruisin' USA. And really, when playing the Run, you do get a heavy arcade feel. There are checkpoints throughout each race, where you will respawn if you choose to use one of the race's resets, if you crash and total your vehicle, for example. When driving across these lines, I half expect someone to yell, "Checkpoint!" Same thing for makeup time missions. You'll hear someone yell, "Time extended!" It might have broke the immersion, sure, but I can't help but hear it in my head. Speaking of resets, I must warn you that if you plan on using them, do so before you cross the finish line. In every race, you must be the man, or woman, in front. If you are told to reach, say, 230th position, and you finish that event at 231, you'll have to restart. If you are close, be sure to hit that reset before crossing the finish line, as once you do, you must restart from the start of that track. You are not given the option to use a reset at this point, even if you have any left. This would have been a nice addition, instead of being forced to retry the entire stage. Normally, you'll be driving the same vehicle for long stretches of road. If you want to change out your vehicle, you'll need to be on the lookout for a gas station. For some reason, entering these allows you to swap to a different car in the tier that you are on. I believe you start out with tier 4 vehicles, moving to tier 5 supercars near the end of the race. Due to this, there's not really a ton of cars that you'll be using in the game, at least not during the story mode. Also, be warned that by stopping at a gas station, even if you don't end up swapping rides, you'll probably lose a few positions, as your opponents will race on by until the game pauses while you window shop. So be forewarned that trying to swap out your car will come with some making up lost time. You'll also have to contend with the police at times. Somehow, these standard cruisers can keep up with your high-performance mobile mechanisms, and they can be relentless in their attempts to take you down. Heavy-duty vans may drive directly towards you before attempting to swerve into your path, and these guys can be difficult to avoid unless you know where they will end up, since this path typically doesn't change. If there are any races in which you use the resets, it'll probably be ones involving law enforcement. At certain points of the game, you'll be given some more story exposé. In these, Jack is typically hunted by a racer that is working for the mob and knows that Jack has a hit out for his life. In these, you'll be given a scene, along with plenty of QTEs to perform, because everyone loves QuickTime events in a racing game. These are by far the weakest parts of the game. When I'm playing a Need for Speed game, I want to drive a car, not try to outrun the cops on foot by smashing the circle button as much as possible. I would have been fine if we were given a normal video scene showing story reveals, but oh well. At least if you fail the QTEs, you aren't sent back more than a few seconds, so there is that. What's really odd about these scenes, well, in addition to the QTEs, is that when they are completed, you find that you haven't lost any positions. Huh, so you mean to tell me that when I hit 50th in Chicago, and then get hunted down by the mob, run away from the police, and have to run to some shady guy's garage to pick a new vehicle, that I'm still in 50th position? To be fair, the game does make it seem like there might be an elimination at certain points, like hitting 150 at Las Vegas. But I'm not sure if this is how the race works, or just the goal that Sam set out for Jack. Minus the stupid QTE levels, the run has some solid racing action, and it's enjoyable to see the country, regardless of whether it's actually accurate or not. There's even a leg on I-78, which is a route that I take to work daily, although the part of 78 that's featured is on the New Jersey side, so I can't tell if it's faithful. I mean, it's dark and dreary due to the industrial theme, so I can imagine it's true, because that's pretty much how New Jersey looks, right? Anywho, with all of that said, there's one big problem with the run. It's way too short. Let me run down some stats for you. It's a 3,000 mile race. Per Bing Maps, this is fairly true, although the route taken in the run is slightly different than shown here. Anyway, according to the game, you can complete this journey in just over 2 hours. I was able to finish this race in 2 hours, 13 minutes, and 26 seconds. Yet according to the game, I was traveling an average speed of about 135 miles an hour. According to that speed, it should have taken me almost 22 and a half hours to complete that 3,000 mile race. If this was more realistic, I would have had to been going just shy of 1,500 miles an hour to make it in just over 2 hours. I know, the game isn't going to force me to play it in a full day. I just wanted to give some fun stats about the inaccuracy of the game. But back to me claiming that it's short, yeah, the story is completable in 2 hours. The only thing left to do are attempt to get a faster time, or attempt the challenge series, a group of races in which you are given a track and a vehicle and have to complete it as fast as possible. Also, there isn't a way to practice individual tracks. You can select the so-called stage, which are the 10 groupings of tracks from the main game, each containing about 4 to 6 races. Other than that though, there's nothing else to do in the game. Well, to be fair, if you played the run when it was new, you could have played multiplayer. From what I can gather, this was just a way in which you race in playlist-style groupings of races against other racers. You couldn't actually participate in the run with others, which is a huge downer. But you can't do multiplayer at all anymore. In fact, the series' recurring autolog feature just doesn't work anymore in this game, which is a huge problem in itself. See, when I first started the game, after logging into my PSN account, the game tries to log into the autolog. And so I got stuck here. I left the game running for literally 30 minutes and it never got past this screen. I literally had to sign out of my PSN account just to play the game, as otherwise it would just get hung up on this screen. This should have been patched out prior to the game's servers being taken offline. At least the game looks great. The world itself is absolutely believable, regardless on whether you are racing in the city of San Francisco, the Vegas desert, the mountains of Colorado, or the orchards of Wisconsin. There are some standout stages, like when you are outrunning an avalanche in the Rocky Mountains. The cars all take damage, and it's doubtful that you'll finish a race without a single ding. Or maybe I'm just an overly aggressive driver in these games. As for the musical featurings, well, I turned them off while recording gameplay so I didn't get dinged with copyright strikes, but I can remember that there's nothing really good about it. Even when I first played the game, I thought it was a bunch of lackluster tracks that were completely forgettable. I would highly suggest your own music. Need for Speed The Run may have some faults, but I absolutely love the premise, and it's still a fun, although criminally short game. Honestly, I kinda wish they would have allowed another mode after you complete the story in which you try again but with no position requirements and are just told to reach first place by New York in any way possible. Also, a multiplayer run would have been amazing if everyone had to start with say lowest tier vehicles, but depending on your place, you'd get more cash to allow you to upgrade and eventually purchase better vehicles to be more competitive. Hell, this would probably have been awesome in the solo game too. Could you imagine doing an online 300 person 2-hour race with real human beings? I imagine the logistics of this would probably have been a little bit difficult, but I'm sure it was doable. Really, I wouldn't mind an updated take on this game, like a sequel, as the idea of a coast-to-coast race is awesome. But let's just lay off the QTEs, can we? Final score? 6 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.